1900 by the dog warden.
Okay.
And it's quite a story. Ludington didn't have a police department back then. They had a constable, and the constable had taken an assault complaint where the dog warden in a drunken rage had beaten his daughter. And where Table 41 is, now that used to be a bar called Newman's Saloon. And that was where all the affluent people in Ludington went to have their drinks, and the prosecutor and judge were in there having a cocktail one evening, and the dog warden went in and confronted them about the warrant to pull a gun on the prosecutor. Now, in today's world, the prosecutor and judge would never be seen drinking in public together, right? I mean, that's just taboo. So that's a little bit about me. Detective Sergeant Mike Kenney, he heads up our detective bureau at the sheriff's office. We have 3 detectives. Mike heads that up, and he's a newly promoted detective, just newly promoted to detective sergeant. He's been a detective for 17 years, and he just got promoted to detective sergeant. So he runs the show. So that's me, and I wanted to introduce Chief Jones with the Ludington Police Department. Chief is new to our area. You probably, if you've been around for a few years, you probably remember Mark Barnett. And Chief Barnett and I played really well together. I think people sometimes worry that because you got the sheriff and the police department that somehow we don't get along or something like that. Please understand that is not the case in local law enforcement. We're fortunate to have really good state troopers that work here and a good police department. I deputize all of the police officers in the county, so if something big happens, they're able to leave and help us, and we come in and help them all the time. So I've been really fortunate to have good people around me in leadership with Barnett and now Chief Jones to help me along the way. So with that, I will, and I'm going to have to leave. I apologize. I'm on the Historical Society's board, and we have a board meeting at the Research Center, King Court from here, that's going to be starting in just a couple minutes. So with that, Chief.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm Chris Jones. I'm the new chief here in Ludington since March. I don't have anything close to the pedigree that the sheriff has.
Oh, whatever.
I'm the outside guy. I won't ever be a local, I understand that. But it has been an amazing experience so far here in Ludington. The community's been incredibly welcoming. Both the civilians and the law enforcement community here. The sheriff's been a go-to consistently for me, and I appreciate his help and his willingness to help me in this transition. I'm glad you're here. This is some important information that Detective Kenney is going to provide to you. The only thing I'll add to it is your grandson is never going to call you and tell you that he's in jail and he needs $10,000 wired to the Western Union, just someplace in wherever. It's not going to happen. All right. Outside of that, he'll fill you in on everything else. If you need anything from us at the Ludington Police Department, reach out, let us know. We've got a fantastic group of officers at Ludington PD. It's made this transition awesome. They're great. They love this community. They love working in this community. One of the things we're going to be doing, I don't have to remember the exact date. I believe it's at Cornerstone Baptist Church in June 9th, maybe, a senior expo. There's going to be all kinds of information for seniors, not just from the police department, but from a bunch of different vendors. And some of the stuff that we're going to be presenting is going to be fraud-related, scam-related information as well. So try to hit up the senior expo at Cornerstone Baptist. I believe it's June 9th, but we'll put it on our Facebook page. Other than that, if you see me downtown, make sure you stop and say hi. I'd love to talk to you and get to know you more. Similar to the sheriff, I have a meeting at 2:30, so I'm going to have to skate out here as well. But I just want to take a minute to say hello and welcome you to this, and thank Detective Kenney for putting us on.
Absolutely. So today I've given the opportunity to come in here and talk with you a little bit about cyber crimes, cybersecurity, and scams and frauds. So originally what I had did was put together a bunch of slides and information talking about scams and frauds and things that we need to be aware of and the types of scams and frauds that target us as individuals. And then when I was asked to put on this presentation, I was asked to give a little presentation about cybersecurity. So what I did was I took my presentation in regards to scams and frauds, and I incorporated cybersecurity, things that we can do to better equip ourselves with protecting ourselves against scams and against frauds. A little history about me. So I was born and raised in Ludington. I graduated Ludington High School in 1992. When I graduated Ludington High School, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a career, had no idea what I wanted to do for a living. I figured I'd probably be an electrician, work construction, do something like that, but I didn't want to be a factory worker because I wanted to be able to be outside and indoors and kind of be various places. So I started looking through West Shore Community College's brochure right after I graduated high school. And as I was looking through the brochure, I seen law enforcement. And I thought, that'd be an interesting job. This is, I can either be in the patrol car where it's nice and warm, or it's nice and cool, or I can get out of the patrol car and walk around and be out in the summertime. And so I decided that I was going to take the West Shore Community College's program in regards to law enforcement. And so in 1992, I enrolled in that law enforcement program. But the summer of 92, I was working construction, and the construction company that I was working for said, hey, we're going to go up to Drummond Island, and there's a little island off Drummond Island. We got some cottages that we're going to go up there and we're going to fix up. I'm like, okay. So I went up there for 3 or 4 days, and we stripped the roofs and we reshingled them and fixed up some of the decor and stuff. And on the way back, we just drove across the Mackinac Bridge, and my boss says, hey, would you like to call your family and let them know you're on your way back? And I'm like, okay. And he had a bag phone. And that was the first cell phone that I had seen, was a bag phone. And so in 92 was my first experience in using a cell phone in a motor vehicle. And in 1993, when I was going to West Shore Community College, I learned about the Sheriff's Office Reserves. And I was already in the law enforcement, getting ready to take the law enforcement program. And I learned about the Sheriff's Office Reserves, and I applied, and I was put on the Sheriff's Office Reserves as a reserve deputy. And when I started on the Sheriff's Office Reserve, some of you that are from Mason County might remember that back in 93, the Sheriff's Office had a rescue truck. And that rescue truck had the Jaws of Life and other equipment on it and stuff. And so they would respond to all the major traffic accidents and have to try to either direct traffic or extract somebody from a motor vehicle. So while I was on the reserves, I was issued a pager. And so kids nowadays have no idea what a pager is. But I had this little pager, and it would show up with a phone number, and I would have to call it, or I had 2 different pagers, but it was, you'd have to call that number and get your message. In 1997, I got hired here at the Sheriff's Office in 1996 after I graduated West Shore Community College. And in 1997, while out on patrol, I thought, it'd be nice to have a cell phone while I'm out on patrol. So at that time, I went out and I bought my first bag phone. And at that time, people that are from Mason County probably remember Altel. And Altel was the cell phone company in our area that provided cellular service. So I purchased the bag phone, and I didn't use it very much because it costed money to use. Then around in 1998, I remember purchasing my first home computer, and I remember getting a hold of car internet and setting up the internet service at my house. And then speed up to 2005 is right around the time that I got promoted to the Detective Bureau. And in 2005, I took a complaint involving child pornography. And I had information that this individual was taking photographs from a digital camera and putting them on his computer. And so I went to the house, got a search warrant. I seized the individual's computer, talked with the individual. He basically said, yeah, I was doing that kind of stuff, had a bunch of CDs and stuff. And so we collected all that information, and I contacted the state police, because at the time we didn't do computer forensics. It was fairly new still for us. And so I sent the computer out to state police, and 6 months go by, and I call them, and they're like, yeah, we haven't got to it yet. We're still backlogged on other computers. And so almost a year goes by, and still waiting on them to process and analyze the computer. So in 2006, I spoke with the sheriff at that time about obtaining our own computer forensics person, somebody that could do and examine computers. So the sheriff's office said, well, if you want to do that, we'll send you that training. So between 2006 and 2009, I traveled down to Eastern Michigan University, where I would stay several weeks at a time, and I took their computer forensics class. And so where I learned how to build a computer, I learned what all the processes are with the computer, how a computer operates, and then we learned how to go in there and extract that data from the computer system and then be able to analyze that data. And then while we were taking that class, more along 2009, they came out with some cell phone companies started coming out with ways to investigate and extract data from cell phones. And so we started talking then about having some kind of specialized cell phone training. And in 2011, Region 6 Homeland Security said, hey, we're going to send so many people from the region to go learn how to do cell phone extractions and extract data from cell phones. So in 2011, I went to a specialized training to extract cell phones data. And you'll see at that time, I had a little BlackBerry. And I don't know if anybody in here had a BlackBerry cell phone at that time or not, but I went from a flip phone to this BlackBerry, which was similar to what your smartphone looks like today, however, all the keys and stuff are on the front of the phone itself. And then fast forward between 2011 and today, 2023. In the last 10 years, computers have really, as far as law enforcement goes, has gone by the wayside because everybody carries their cell phone in their pocket or has it with them, or a tablet. And these devices that we have in our pockets, in our purses, are way more powerful than our home computer back in 2011. And our cell phones are capable of carrying and holding and utilizing so much information that people just carry their cell phones, use their cell phones for pretty much everything nowadays. So computer forensics has really went by the wayside because most people don't use their computers for anything. I've been doing cell phone forensics since 2011, and most of the time when I do cell phone downloads, I never see where the person backs their phone up to their computer. It's very seldom that people even back up all their data and stuff to their computer because they back it up to the cloud. Now everything's saved out there in the internet. So that's a little bit of history and how I became involved in computer forensics and cybercrime. So when we talk about cybercrime, we're wondering, well, we watch TV shows and we see what cybercrime is. And the big things that we think about when we talk about cybercrime is, on these TV shows is how people are going to target our infrastructure, right? They're going to target our power grid. They're going to target our water supply. They're going to target large banking or large business corporations to try to get money or information or technology from these businesses. But when we hear the term cybercrime, we don't think, well, it doesn't really apply to me because I'm not that important. Why would they want to tackle? I don't have any money or very little to speak of, so they're not going to target me. And that's why it makes us a perfect target for cybercrime. Criminals, they know it's easier to target you and target your emotions and play on your feelings to try to get you to manipulate you to be able to access your private information, to be able to get you to send them money, all right? To be able to use you to access your friends, to get your friends to send money. And as I talk today, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to remember about cases that I worked over the last 17 years as a detective. And I'm going to speak with you about these cases that I've worked in where people, we're talking tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in our own community that people have been frauded out of. And the sad reality to that is it's super difficult for us as investigators to try to recoup that money because most of the time that person that took that money, embezzled that money, that swindled that person out of the money isn't really the main player, and they're not the ones that have the money anymore. They get rid of it as fast as they get it because it's a big, huge network. It's actually a big criminal network. So it makes it extremely difficult for us in law enforcement to try to track these people down. And most of the time, the people that are the actors in these things aren't from our community. They're from outside of our community, outside of our state, and even outside of our country. There are cases that I have worked where we have people that have given away, fell for a scam. And at different times, it started out with $1,000. Then it ended up being $5,000. Then it ended up being $10,000. And once they start giving that money and start falling for that scam, they keep going because they think at some point I'm going to get my winnings, or at some point I'm going to get my money back, or at some point something's got to get better for me. And it also becomes an issue where they feel embarrassed. They feel shameful. They know that they screwed up, and they don't want to go tell somebody. They don't want to tell their family. They don't want to tell their friends because they know that I'm probably not going to get my money back. And so it makes it very difficult for them. So we need to make sure we keep an eye and keep a track on all of our friends and family, and we talk with them and try to encourage them that if they are having issues, to come forward and to get this to stop. So fraud, when we talk about fraud, what is fraud? And fraud is basically situations where somebody is intentionally being dishonest in order to receive some kind of benefit from a person, business, or entity. Fraud is also for money or some type of financial gain, right? So there's really two big categories involving fraud, and that's the personal fraud. That's your personal accounts, your personal sensitive information, your personal identity information, and then businesses. All right, and then that would be if you're a customer of a business, a customer or an employee of a business, and you have certain information to that business, and they want to try to infiltrate that business and try to get you to trick you to sending money. So we all know about the Publishers Clearinghouse scam, right? Publishers Clearinghouse scam is where you get contacted and they say that, hey, you won the Publishers Clearinghouse, you won this X amount of dollars, and you're going to get these winnings. So now these scams that I'm going to talk to you about right now are all scams that pretty much started 15, 20 years ago, right? They all started through the mail. Most of these scams that are right here are scams that first introduced through the mail and through by phone calls. And then these scams have run their course, but you know what? These scams are still popular today. They still thrive, but now they're thriving on social media, and they're thriving through text messages, and they're thriving through different types of techniques employs to try to get you out of your money. But we're going to talk today about new techniques and new ways that these scammers are trying to get your information. We all talk about or know about, they're a prince or a princess, and they got this money, and they need somebody to help them get that money out of their country and get it back to the United States, right? So they need to set up something here in the United States. The winning the lottery scam, same thing. Now, I would like to purchase your dog, car, or trailer scam. And that's an interesting scam because the first time that I remember that type of scam was back right around the time I purchased my first computer and we connected to the internet. My wife and I had horses, and my wife decided she was going to sell a couple horses. So she got on a website and listed her horse for sale. And we got an email. It says, hey, I'd like to purchase your horse, but I live in California. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a shipping, I'm going to get a hold of a shipping company, and I'm going to have the shipping company come and pick up the horse and bring it to California. So I'm going to send you an extra $2,000. And when I find out what it is that the shipping company is going to charge me, then the extra money you just send me back. My wife's like, well, this is a great deal. And I'm like, no. I says, I'm pretty sure that this is a scam and they're trying to get us to send them money and then the check's going to bounce. And then obviously scams all started, like I said, through the mail or through phone calls and then through emails. So examples of personal types of fraud is, I'm trying to stay in front of this camera, I think. Identity theft, imposter scams. And so that's something that we're going to talk about today is phishing scams, credit card and debit card fraud, mortgage and loan fraud, which we have those in our community, fake check scams, employment scams, online fraud, malware. What is malware? Advanced fee scams, Ponzi scams, investment fraud, tax refund fraud, healthcare fraud, medical identity theft, and cryptocurrency. We're going to talk a little bit about those things today. However, when we talk about things, we're going to talk about having a strong password. And, you know, we hear about this all the time, right? I mean, there's not a day that doesn't go by that you're not getting an email about something about, you know, hey, you got to update your security settings. You got to update your password. You got to have so many characters. You got to have a capital letter. You have to have a lowercase letter. You have to have a number. Okay, so you have to have these things for your passwords in order for them to be able to work with these particular websites. So as I go through this presentation today, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to talk about passwords again a little bit more. But I want to get this out there in front right now is that we need to make sure that we have good, solid, strong passwords. And we need to make sure that if the website that we're accessing has two-factor authentication, you should make sure you take advantage of that. So basically what that is like if I want to go in and I want to log into my bank account, I can log into my bank account and then it will send me a code to my cell phone. And then I got to take those numbers off from my cell phone and then put them into the screen on my computer or on my cell phone that would then allow me access into my account. And most websites nowadays are coming out with this two-factor authentication, and you should take advantage of it. Facebook has it, and other types of websites like that have it. Always use different passwords for different accounts, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that too, and how important that is. So how are we going to manage or save all of our passwords? I don't know about you guys, but I will show you how I do it. And so I have my smartphone here, and if I lose my smartphone, I might be in trouble because if I don't back it up to the cloud, there's going to be a lot of passwords I'm not going to remember for. But as you can see on here, it says Android or Chrome. They have security files where you can store your passwords. My iPhone has a secure folder in it that stores my passwords. And so it's an encrypted folder. So what I do is I go to settings, and on settings, I scroll down to where it says passwords. I click on passwords. It's going to ask me for my Face ID. So as long as I show my face or use a code, but I want to give you an example. This is, I don't know how many of you can see my phone or not, but these are all my passwords to all my separate accounts.
You don't have them memorized?
I'm not done yet. Oh. But so I have, because I'm of the job that I do and all the accounts and all the logins that I participate with, and you know, my banking accounts, my credit card accounts, all those things, I can't remember those passwords, okay? So I have to have a way of being able to do that. Now, I know of people that write down their passwords in a little book or a little journal, which is a great thing to do. However, you need to make sure that that's kept somewhere secure where if somebody breaks into your house, they can't get access to that, because they definitely will try to log into your stuff and gain access. So if you can use your digital device or some way of storing all those passwords. I like my iPhone password folder because it's an encrypted folder. And as long as they don't know my passcode, they can't access that encrypted folder, because all the data, when I extract that cell phone data from that phone, it remains encrypted. So today, obviously we talked about some of the things, some examples of personal fraud, and the biggest one is identity theft. And so when we talk about identity theft, we're going to talk about the most common type of fraud, how people try to get your information so that way they can take out your bank accounts and your loans and other information, open up accounts in your name. Recently, my mother-in-law called me and said, "Hey, I got this letter in the mail to their residence in Florida, and it has your wife's name on it, her daughter." And she goes, "It's from AT&T." And I'm like, "Well, go ahead and open it." So she opens it and she says, "Well, it says it's a past due notice for some cell phones." And I'm like, "Well, we don't have AT&T. It's probably a scam. Just throw it away." And so she holds on to it, and we go down to Florida for Christmas, and we're down there, and she goes, "Hey, here's that letter." And I look at the letter, and I'm like, "Well, it doesn't really look like a scam." So I logged on, I got on Google, and I started doing some searching, and I realized that AT&T says, "Hey, look, if you have or receive a billing to an account that you didn't open or authorize, let us know." And the information on the billing was coming back out of Houston, Texas. So I logged into my credit report, and I ran a credit report on myself, and it shows up on my credit report as being an unpaid bill. So now we have to file a discrepancy with the credit report bureau, and we had to contact AT&T, and basically we ended up getting it removed because somebody had used my wife's information to open up a cell phone account in Texas, and had the cell phones for about 6 months before they never received a payment on the bill, and then it got canceled, and then AT&T just said arbitrarily charged us for it. What was interesting though is that they used my mother-in-law's address in Florida that my wife's never been associated with. So I thought that was interesting. So identity theft. So what they want to do is they want to try getting your information, right? They obviously need your full name, and they need your address, your date of birth, and if they can get your social security number, that usually helps. And once they have those basic pieces of information, they really can open up accounts in your name or, well, in your name. So I watched this movie, and it's called Identity Theft. And I really thought that this would be appropriate to be able to show during this presentation. So I made a little clip of it. I don't think your audio is working right now. Because it was working before.
think it's Zoom that's messing it up.
Yeah, probably is.
It's playing Zoom instead of this.
Okay, well, we can bypass it.
I don't know how else to do it. We could try muting Zoom and playing it for the audience here. All we can do is try it. If we put that microphone right there. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so basically in this video, it works out really well because in this video or in this movie, Identity Theft, you can see she's cloning his credit cards and stuff. But what she does is she calls him. He's at work. He answers the phone, and she tells, "Hey, I'm from the Identity Theft Bureau, and your account has recently been compromised, and we're offering a free credit protection plan, and we just need to get some basic information from you." And he goes, "Well, as long as it's free, okay." Yeah. And then he provides his name and his information and such, in which she then turns accesses his accounts, creates a credit cards, gets credit cards in his name, and the movie goes throughout how she goes and she uses his credit cards and spending his credit and how it's destroying his life. So it's a really interesting movie. I wish they didn't swear as much in it as they do, but it's a good movie if you ever have a chance or an opportunity to see it. So with that, imposter scams. That's where they try to pretend to be somebody else, and they try to get you to give up your information. And so in computer cybercrime, what they do is they listed those as phishing or smishing attacks. And phishing is like when they send you emails, phone calls, and they try to get you to provide certain information. Smishing is where they send you text messages and try to get you to click on the links to log into that website or that information, and then so that way you provide information, or it's a link to malware that will get downloaded to your digital device without you ever even knowing that information gets downloaded to your computer or gets downloaded to your tablet or gets downloaded to your cell phone. And as you're clicking away or you're typing up messages, it's recording. It's got a keylogger that's recording all that information. It's recording the traffic. It's recording the websites that you go to. And then it gives those hackers that ability to be able to go and compromise your accounts, and gives the hackers the ability to create new accounts. So this was another little one. This one you can get it without watching the audio or listening to the audio. So we'll see how this one plays out. Now with audio, you hear him clicking away on the keyboard. I like this. He gets a new mail message, and it's from his bank, and it says, "Hey, customer, please follow the link below." Clicks on the link. That's the first problem. So he clicks on the link and he thought about it for a second, and then he goes, "Ah, okay," enters his basic information. Ooh. I don't know. Well, whatever. But by the time you enter that information, it's too late. And then what happens? What happens is they start creating accounts in your name, to start using your personal information to access your accounts and to reach out to your friends and family.
So what can you do at that point?
Yeah, at that given point, your best bet is to log into your account, change your password, because obviously he provided his password, but you gotta log into your accounts, change your password, change your security questions, and also if you can, contact your bank or financial institution if it's a credit card or whatever, and let them know, and then they can flag your account. And then the other thing is then you need to do what I talked about earlier, is monitor your credit report, look for any credit cards, new accounts that get opened in your name, and that will also show you attempts. So if somebody tries to open a credit card or open up an account in your name, it should flag, and it also should show you that, hey, in the state of Florida or California or wherever, somebody tried to open up an account, and you can take better precautions against that.
I'd like to add that by the time you hit submit, you have very little time before you can change all that stuff. Your account can be gone that fast.
Absolutely. So
Your best thing is don't do it.
yeah. So the problem is that the people that are setting up these scams, they have been doing it for years now. It's not their first time. They already have steps in place to cut and paste information, or have information that depends on what kind of link you downloaded or what kind of thing you access, to be able to attack your account and information like immediately. So when we talked about phishing examples, just a simple email. We get emails all the time. My email account, I have several, but my wife's and my email account, a daily, probably get 20, 30 email messages a day. Because every place you go to, every business you go to nowadays, wants you to set up some type of enter your email. And so we use one particular email for all the businesses that we go to. So that can kind of like be our junk email, right? And now you go to Walmart and you use your credit card at the mall, and they ask you, do you want you to print your receipt? Do you want your receipt texted and printed, or just texted to you? And so not only are they capturing your credit card information, but then they're capturing your personal email information. When you enter, you say, well, I'll have them text it to me instead of getting an email. Well, now they got your cell phone number. So now they got your cell phone number associated with your credit card. And then they also got all the stuff that you purchase. So they know all the stuff that you purchase. And then they also got a picture of you because of the camera that's on the register when you go through the self-checkouts, right? So technology today is capturing so much of our personal lives, right? Even Facebook, and I'll use Facebook a lot today, but it's any social media app, right? That's out there. Captures a tremendous amount of information. There are people now that put on, hey, I just had a child. Oh, my child's, 6 months old. My child's a year old. And then they put pictures of that child all the way through, all the way up until their adulthood, and all the information that kid has ever done in their lives, where they went to school, maybe potentially who their favorite teacher was in school, maybe what car they just got for their birthday, all that stuff. What is that all based around? Security questions, right? Back to, hey, what street did you grow up on? What hospital were you born in? Who's your favorite teacher? All that stuff all traces back. And you don't think that there are people not out there capturing that information? So here we talk about email examples, right? So in this email example, obviously you're getting these emails, and what they want to do is they want to try to get you to click on that link, right? They want you to think that, hey, I gotta hurry up and click on this link because it's going to expire in 24 hours. So if I don't do it right now, then I'm going to forget, and then my password's not going to work. And so they create a sense of urgency, and they want you to hurry up and click on that link. And you're sitting there and you're looking at it, or you're in your car and you're sitting somewhere and you're looking at your cell phone, because we all can do it from our cell phones nowadays, right? Everybody gets emails on their cell phones. And so there's, different types of examples, right? We get banking ones, right? From Suncoast Bank or SunTrust that says, hey, we have some suspicious activity on your bank account. We want you to go ahead and click this link and log back into your bank account. So what happens is you could take and you could look at that and say suntrust.com. I think that's an okay link. Well, that's just a hyperlink. They can name that hyperlink whatever they want. They can call that hyperlink whatever they want, because underneath this information right here, this highlighted blue, is all kinds of numbers and letters, and that's going to take you to an external link. And when it takes you to that external link, if I was really smart as a criminal, what I would do is I would go and I would look at, okay, what does SunTrust's login page look like? And I would copy that login page and I would try to design that login page so that way when you clicked on that link, it would pop up and you would think, oh, that's my login page, username, password, and then now, hey, it's not doing nothing. It's not accessing my account. Well, it's because you just now provided your username and password to whoever created this email and created that link. What you're best off doing is if you think that your account might be compromised or there might be issues to your account, go to the website that you know that you've logged into before, that you can trust, and make sure, go ahead and log in and access your account and make sure that things are fine. But when you do that, make sure you're typing in the right web address, and then it's HTTPS. It's a secure, that little S will tell you that it's a secure website, and you should be able to access it, and hopefully your information will remain encrypted as you enter that data. So smishing is another form of phishing, but it's through text messaging, right? How many people in here have received text messages that says your Apple ID, you won a gift card, or your package is going to be arriving shortly, and they want you to click on that link, right? Yeah, I received these myself, and most of the time, because I know what I'm doing, I simply report it as junk, and I dispose of it. I don't text them back. Don't send them say, hey, this is fraud, or I know you're trying to scam me. Because what happens is that validates to that person that texted you that this is an active phone number and that you're willing to respond back to it. Because what these attackers try to do is they try to get you to communicate with them. Because once you start communicating with them, then they're going to try to build something. They're going to try to build some kind of credibility. They're going to try to build some trust in you in order to you to provide some kind of information. But these links here could take you to a fictitious website, could download software to your cell phone, to your tablet, to your computer, that then again, like I talked about earlier, would install malware, could install information that will allow them to access your device and take over your device. And so these ones are ones that I created the other day at work. And I'm not really sure it was a good idea, because what I did was I took my work phone and I took another deputy's work phone and says, hey, I'm going to send you some texts so that way I can screenshot them so I can have them for this presentation I'm doing. And so when I took this Apple ID one and I texted it and I sent it, it went as an iMessage to the other person and they received it. And then when I texted it again and sent it, it went as an SMS message. And then when I texted it again and sent it, it wouldn't send. It wouldn't go to that person's phone anymore. So what I'm assuming is that Apple, is like, hey, what's this guy doing sending these text messages talking about Apple ID being locked, and it wouldn't send the message anymore. I could still send other text messages. I could say, hey, or test or whatever, and send those messages. But when I started using those certain terms, those certain words, it locked up my phone and wouldn't send the message anymore, which I found was very interesting. But like I talked about earlier, you know, we get these text messages. It says, hey, your FedEx package, your Amazon package, you know, whatever. I get text messages all the time that says, hey, your Amazon account is about ready to be closed because of non-payment, or your Amazon account has been compromised. You need to click here to log into your account and verify your credentials. And as a matter of fact, the two black screen ones are actual text messages to my phone that were still in my message history. And so what I did was I screenshot those, and for my iPhone, what I need to do is what I do is I click here, I report it as junk. It sends a message to Verizon, says, hey, this information up top is possibly spam information, then so Verizon can flag it. So whenever you get any of these types of text messages, you can see up here that if this was a real company, a real organization, they're not going to use just a bunch of information up here with a fake like email account. Now you will get businesses that will send you text messages and it'll be like a 6-digit number. And I get those all the time too. So on my cell phone, I have my banking information and I have my credit card information on there. And I was really leery about putting my credit card information on my phone. I thought, should I do it or shouldn't I do it? And then I started thinking about the benefits outweighing the risk. And the benefits is so if I go to Walmart or if I go to the gas station and I use my credit card, I have it set up so that I immediately get a text message saying, hey, somebody just made a purchase on your card at this location, this date. I mean, it's like immediate. As soon as I pull my card out of the gas pump, get done putting gas in my car, I get a text message for $76 for 5 gallons of gas. And that says, hey, I just used my credit card. So what I like about that is that if somebody is able to access my credit card information and tries to make a purchase, I will get a text notification saying, hey, this purchase just went through, or this purchase is pending. And then I can reach out to my credit card company and I can, you know, dispute the charges. I can also log into the credit card on my digital device, my cell phone, and go in there and look at, you know, the purchase history, where they tried to make the purchase at, and then I can cancel that purchase right then and there too. So it's kind of a tough situation. But see, now I also have a pass lock on my phone, and so that way if I lose my phone, hopefully the person's not able to get into my phone and access that information. So I pay a lot of attention to where I keep my phone and where my phone is at all the time, because I don't want to lose that information. But I wanted to take these screenshots, post them up here today, so that way you guys can look at them. You guys can say, hey, you know what? I have received messages like that before, and I didn't do anything with them. Now, if you do click on them, what should you do then? And that's the difficult part, because I don't know what happened to your phone when you clicked on that message. Did it redirect you to another website? Did you enter more information then? Or just when you clicked on it, your phone screen went blank for a second and then started back up, and it doesn't appear that there's anything wrong with your phone. Now, with that being said, if that was my personal phone and I clicked on a link and I think that something might have gotten downloaded to my phone, I'd probably just wipe my phone and start all over again. I'd probably go into my settings, you know, and reset my phone, because there's probably some kind of malware or something that got downloaded to my phone.
To reset your phone, what does that do?
Well, when you reset your phone, you're basically it'll wipe your phone clean, and you'll have to set it all up again with, you know, all your contacts. You'll lose all your messages, you'll lose all your photos. So, but here's the other problem. So you're backing up all your information to the cloud. Okay, well, some people do. You back up your information to your cloud, and then you can extract that stuff back out of the cloud and put it back on your phone. But if you're not that type of person, if you don't back your information up to the cloud, just all your personal pictures are on your phone, all your personal contacts and stuff are on your phone, and you think that your phone was compromised, you know, you can do one of two things. You can go get another phone, you know, but that's expensive, right? It costs money. But how important is it versus being your device being compromised? And then if you do a backup of your phone, the problem with that is will that malicious software that was downloaded onto your phone get backed up to your new phone when you go and reinstall that backup to your phone? So there's lots of things to think about when we click on links and we access things that we're really not sure of. So at any time, you know, the best advice I can give is at any time you receive an email or a pop-up pops up on your phone or somebody sends you a link and you're not sure about it, just either delete it or ignore it. Try not to respond back to it. But we're going to talk more about that as we go through the slide presentation. So you click on one of those malicious links, right? And so it tricks you into providing personal information. Might look like your bank login. We already talked about that and how you go about it. And you log in, and then your account could be compromised. So we talked about being malware again, and that being installed on your phone. And this is just another category or a little bit more information about online fraud and malware that we've already talked about. Let's talk about credit card and debit card fraud. All right, so I know 30 years ago when you had your credit card compromised, it was very difficult to get a hold of the credit card company and dispute those charges. I mean, the credit card company wanted everything under the sun for you to try to prove that it wasn't you that made those charges. Credit card companies are a lot more friendly, user-friendly now. Lots of times now, if your credit card gets compromised and you call quick enough or soon enough when you receive your bill or receive some kind of notice that says, hey, this charge don't look right. It's because we all look through our credit card charges, right? Make sure that there's none of them that are not on there that's supposed to be on there. And so when you recognize that, hey, there's these charges on my card that I didn't make, you call your credit card company, and most of the time the credit card company can say, oh, yeah, you live in Michigan. Those charges occurred in Colorado. Yeah, we're not going to hold you responsible for those. However, with your debit card, you know, your local bank card, those funds immediately come right out of your account when you use your debit card. So most of the time, it's very difficult to get your local bank to reimburse you those funds because they're not FDIC insured as well. So it's difficult when you use your debit card. So if at all possible, I would recommend using your credit card because it's easier to dispute those charges. But that's something that you should also maybe talk with your bank and your banking personnel about the next time you go to your bank and visit them and ask them about debit and credit cards and find out from them which ones they recommend you using. And they're probably going to recommend you using their bank's credit cards versus debit cards. Mortgage and loan fraud. That happens in our community. We had a person that lived in the southern part of Mason County that received a notice that says, hey, we came out, we did a drive-by inspection of your house, and we believe your house is worth X amount of dollars, and we would like to purchase your house, and we're willing to pay this amount of money Here's the forms and stuff. And the person received the forms in the mail. She filled them out. She signed them, but she never really read them. And then she sent them back to the company. They went through a mortgage, a broker. They went through, sold the house, never gave her the money. And then they turned around and they put the house up for sale. And all the time she's living in the house, wondering what happened with this paperwork that she signed, waiting for a payment. And then the house got sold through one company and then got resold to another person who had no idea that it was all a scam. And then, so then who becomes the owner of the house? The person that signed their rights away from their house and signed their deed over to this mortgage company, or the person who lawfully spent a couple $100,000 to buy the house and now doesn't have their couple $100,000. A huge mess. And matter of fact, it's still pending. She's still living in the house and it's all still pending, and they're trying to evict her. So you have to be careful of the documents that you receive in the mail, right? You have to read them. If you're not sure about them, you have to talk to, family or friends or an attorney, somebody that can give you some advice or information. Fake check scams, those have been going on forever, ever since I started in law enforcement. People were getting checks, and then they would go and they would take those checks and they would go to their bank. They would deposit the check into the bank, right? And then because they deposited the money into the bank, the bank, they thought they were good checks. And then they say, okay, you should wait 14 days for the check to clear. But the person that gave you the check's like, hey, we need X amount of dollars. So you take X amount of dollars out of your account, you send it to that person, and then 14 days later, you find out the check bounces, right? And you would think that the fake check scam, everybody knows about it. You think that it would stop, but it doesn't. One of our local citizens came into the sheriff's office the other day and provided me with this and said, hey, I got this in the mail back in November. I was coming down to the sheriff's office to talk with you. So I thought I'd bring this check by. She goes, it's a scam, but I just wanted you to be aware of it in case you could do something with it. Well, there's really nothing that I can do with it because it appears that it occurred out of the country from the postage that was put on it. I did do some research on it. I did look up this health services company. That is the correct address for this health systems. But actually what it is it's like a health investment systems. And then there's also a medical health systems, both in Bakersfield, California area. So that information is a correct address for this company. However, when you look over here, the phone number that's at the top, and then within the body of the message, it basically letter says, hey, we're going to give you this $3,700 because you won, I think it's $1.5 million. I can't see my computer, but because of processing fees, it's going to cost you $2,250 for processing fees. But we're going to cut you a check for $3,700. And what we want to do is once you contact us, we'll authorize the check. You take it down to your bank. And then while you're at the bank, can you wire us the processing fee? And then so you do that. And then you'll come to find out in 14 days that this check bounces. And then what happens is you reach out to them, you call them back and say, hey, your check bounced. Oh, it was a mistake. We'll cut you another check, and then I'll send you another check. And then what you'll do is you'll get the check and you'll take it to your bank and you think that it's good and you'll deposit it. And because they had to cut you another check, there's another $250 fee that's going to be associated with it. And then you send another $250, and then you find out you got scammed again. Well, do you go tell somebody about it? Do you go tell your friends or your family that you just fell for this check scam? And then what it also does is it opens up to you to getting more phone calls, more text messages, more emails in regards to trying to get you to give up more money. And you think, well, how does that happen? How do people fall for that? And it's because they play on your emotions, and they know what to say and how to say it. Employment scams. So that is something that's I think it's relatively new. I've just started hearing about it within the last few years, and it really came on right around COVID. Is that all these companies post all these online jobs, right? And so you get this information, you're looking for a new job, they're telling you you can work from home, but all you need to do to work from home is you need to have a laptop computer with their programs, with their software on it. And so that way you can access their business plan, and they ask you all your information to set up. So when you get hired in a job, right, what do? They get your name, address, your social security number, right? And so you provide them all that information, and then they tell you you're hired, but they got to provide this computer, but they want to make sure that you're going to stick with the company. So they're going to charge you $2,000 for the computer. So you go and you take $2,000 out of your account, you send it to them, and then you never receive the computer and you never hear back from them. And the other, here about 6 months ago, I was doing another presentation. As I was doing the presentation, I talked about employment scams. And after I got done talking about employment scams and doing my presentation, the two people that had asked me to put on the presentation came up to me and said, I really wish I would have known about your presentation before about employment scams, because one of our students in our class was looking for a job. We seen a local posting for a local business in our community that was looking for a job, and we recommended her to reach out to them. She reached out to them. She answered all their questions. She provided all of her information, and they told her they got the job. She got the job. And then they're like, this don't seem right. I mean, they did a phone interview and they gave her the job right then and there, and they asked her about her private information, personal information. So then they knew it was a real estate company. So they called the real estate company and said, hey, are you guys hiring? They're like, no, we have all our positions filled. And they're like, well, we've recently seen an ad. And they're like, no, we didn't run no ad. So now here's this young students, all their information got compromised by providing it because on a fake job scam. So it's something that we really need to be prepared about. I mean, these people that are creating these scams, I mean, this is a really good idea. I mean, because everybody wants to work from home now and be able to do those kind of things, and everybody wants a really good paying job. And then this was something that was published by the Federal Trade Commission back in 2012, just talking about job scams and how to recognize job scams. And basically, if somebody's giving you the job right on the spot, the first time that they talk to you, it's probably really suspicious. Advanced fee scams. So we kind of talked a little bit about a lot of different types of scams. And this is where they're going to lower your interest rates on your credit card. They're going to help you out with your mortgage, and they're going to try to somehow get information from you, to get money from you, right, to access your accounts. And we see and hear about these, but I've watched these on TV. You know, they're talking about lowering your interest rates. Well, we're going to go talk to your creditors on your behalf and lower your interest rates. Well, how does that work, and how do you benefit from it? Those always draw my suspicion. And then we all have heard about Ponzi schemes over the years, where people want you to invest in money invest in their corporation, invest in this tiered thing, so that way you're going to make money without having to do anything, right? Tax refund fraud. So it's really surprising. So here a couple of years ago, we had a lot of phone calls in regards to tax fraud, where they went to go file their taxes and somebody else had already filed taxes on their behalf using their social security card and using their information. And that is very difficult to work with the IRS and try to clear that kind of stuff up. So just be careful of the information you give. And, I always try to file my taxes right away. So that way, hopefully I get my money before somebody else does. Healthcare fraud. Well, this was interesting. So several years ago, I got called by an individual that lives in Mason County, and he says, hey, I've been receiving these billings from my healthcare provider from one of their companies or offices in the Detroit area. And for that time frame, I was in Hawaii, so there's no way that I went and seen my doctor during that time frame. And I reached out to the healthcare insurance company and I called them and I'm like, hey, I got this information from this person who is an individual that participates in your health insurance. And they said that their account might have got compromised. And what I want to try doing is I'm going to try figuring out, who and when and how much and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to tell you anything. Because of HIPAA and stuff, we're not going to tell you any information. So we'll investigate it internally. I don't know whatever happened with that. The individual that I talked with that filed the complaint said that when he reached out to his insurance company, they just told him they would handle it internally, and he never heard whether or not it got resolved. But so there are people that will use your healthcare information and commit fraud.
I had Rite Aid and Trinity Health and Spectrum all notify me that my accounts have been attempted to be accessed.
Attempted to be compromised?
Yes, that was probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
All three of them separately.
Yeah. Well, if they know what area you live in, they're going to know what healthcare providers you probably use, right? And they're going to, as long as they have your personal information, they can try to access that. So we talk a little bit, or you hear a little bit now about cryptocurrency and what is cryptocurrency, and like Bitcoin and such. I'm not a big cryptocurrency person. I don't have a lot of money to invest, so I don't have to worry about investing in cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency is huge, and the cryptocurrency has made lots of people lots of money. And Venmo, I don't know if you guys know of Venmo or not, but Venmo is kind of like PayPal. It's an account that's linked to a banking account where you can send money wirelessly and receive money wirelessly. But with Venmo, you can go out there and you can actually purchase cryptocurrency and have that cryptocurrency on your account. And if the value of cryptocurrency goes up, you get more money in your account. The value of cryptocurrency goes down, you lose money. But then you're going to also, there's a lot of scams out there right now that will, and one of them being is, for an example, hey, your Facebook page got locked up. And if you want to be able to access your Facebook page again, you're going to have to wire cryptocurrency to this, link, and then we'll free up your account. So let's talk more about Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and other social media profiles, right? So this is probably the meat and potatoes of the presentation. It's more about, this is where maybe cybercrime really comes into play, is with these social media accounts, right? Because we all know that there are a lot of young people out there that are now on all types of social media platforms. And it doesn't matter if you're 2 years old or if you're 102 years old. There are people that have access to these websites, social media profiles. I see it a lot with parents giving their young child a phone or a tablet to be able to view, watch videos on. And then sometimes within those videos, links pop up. The kid can click on it. But let's talk about Facebook's and Snapchat and Instagram and all these other social media profiles. I'm going to use Facebook as the main profile. But what the things that you can do with Facebook, you can do with Instagram and Snapchat and other user profiles. And so the first thing I want to talk about is Facebook profile hacking versus cloning, okay? And so the reason why I want to talk about that is because so many times when I'm scrolling through Facebook, one of my friends that's on my friends list that I know is a family member, they'll put on Facebook, hey, don't accept any friends requests from me. I've been hacked and somebody's sending out friend requests. Okay. Most of the time, it's not going to be because your Facebook page was actually hacked. Okay. It is very difficult to actually hack your Facebook page unless you go back to everything else we talked about before, where you clicked on those links, you opened up an attachment, and you provided your information. And what I mean information is you provided, answers to your security questions, you provided your email account, and you provided a password to some kind of account. And if you use the same password for all your accounts, right? So if that happens and one of those accounts gets compromised, then they could go back and they could compromise your Facebook account and take over your Facebook account. So now why would somebody want to take over and hack a Facebook account? Well, it's going to be the same thing and the same purposes as they would for cloning. But if I can hack into your Facebook account and I can get greater information, personal information about you, because we have our phone numbers, we have an IP address, we have all that information that we use. So now what is cloning? So what's the difference between hacking and cloning? Well, cloning is where somebody goes to your Facebook profile and all they do is they save each one of the pictures. And I was going to show it on my computer, but because we're streaming this and we're doing Zoom, it might be very difficult for me to go in there. But what I will do is I will explain to you is what they do is they go to your Facebook profile and they save your profile picture, they save your background, they save a couple pictures of your friends list. And what they do is they'll create a brand new Facebook profile. And when they create that brand new Facebook profile, they're going to use your picture as their profile picture. They're going to use your background, and then they're going to start sending it out to your friends list. And the reason why they send it out to your friends list is because they know that you have a relationship with these people that are on your friends list. And if I want to try soliciting money, or I need money, or I need people to click on things, people that are my friends are probably going to be the ones that are going to help me out, right? If I send them a link, tell them it's a funny video, or tell them, hey, look who just died, or hey, look at this information, they're probably going to click on that link because I sent it to them. So if I create or I clone somebody's Facebook page, right? I go on there, I click their profile picture, I click their backdrop, I click some of the stories that they had shared, and I put that on a Facebook page, and then I go through and I send that Facebook page out and request all their friends again. Then that gives me greater access to that person, right? So the other day, my wife's aunt, I get a friend request, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm friends with you already. So I get on there and I screenshot her user profile. So when you log into your Facebook account and you click on the hyperlink that takes you to your account, that will have your user profile ID. So some people have went in there and they've renamed that user profile ID, and that Facebook allows you to do that once. And once you rename that user profile ID, so you'll either have a bunch of numbers or you'll have a name that you put up there. And so I went to her user profile ID and I looked and it had her name on it. So I screenshot that. And then I go and I look up the friend requests that I got. And so if you look at the friend request, you can view them and you can view that page, which then allows you to view that hyperlink to their Facebook page. And it was just all a bunch of numbers. So I knew it was a newly created Facebook page, plus their friends list was only like 3 people so far. But anyways, I screenshotted that and then I typed it up and it says, hey, just want to let you know that somebody cloned your Facebook page. They didn't hack it because they didn't access it through her username and password, but they cloned it and I sent it to her and I posted it on her Facebook page. And then I went through and the 3 people that had already accepted her friend request, I went through and I sent them a message, hey, you have to delete that because it's a fake Facebook profile. And then on that profile itself, I reported it to Facebook saying, hey, it's a fictitious name or fake profile. And then Facebook sends you a message later on that says, hey, we investigated it and, we took care of it basically. So there's a difference when you are on Facebook and you get a friend request from somebody that you know is already a friend of yours. And another way you can check is you can go to your friends list, right? Type in their name. If their name pops up and it shows friend and you got a friend request, they can't send you a friend request if they're already your friend. So you know that that's a fake profile then, and people are trying to use that fake profile, that cloned profile, because what they're going to do then is they're going to send you messages through Facebook Messenger, and those messages are going to be, hey, look, I went on vacation. While I was on vacation, I lost my wallet, but I still have my cell phone. Can you Venmo me $100? And you're thinking, well, yeah, I can, $100 ain't a big deal. But if you get 20 people to do that, that's quite a bit of money, right? So when we talk about Facebook, you can also do this with Snapchat profiles. You can also do this with Instagram profiles. And all these social media apps, right, what they have is they have ways of being able to chat personally and communicate personally with each other. Oh, here's what I said. So here's another thing. Here is another way of being able to actually access your Facebook profile. So what they do is they will reach out to you and they will send you a message. So like if I created a cloned profile and I send you this message saying, hey, I got locked out, you're going to get this code. And when you get this code, can you send it back to me? Well, that code is going to be an access code. So that way, because they're telling Facebook or they're telling Instagram or whatever that they got locked out of their account, and Facebook's saying, okay, well, we'll send you a code so that way you can reset your password. And so now what they're doing is they're reaching out to you in hopes that when they file the claim that they lost their password and that they need a code, when you receive the code, that you'll send them the code, they can log it in and then they can access your account. So if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, you're going to receive this code and can you help me out and send it to me? I just ignore them, decline it. Actually, probably should delete their profile because it's probably a cloned profile to begin with. How to tell if you're being scammed on Facebook Marketplace. So when we're looking through Facebook, there's all kinds of things that are for sale, and they pop up on our Facebook Marketplace, and you see these things, and or you decide that you want to sell something, so you post it on Facebook Marketplace. So I can tell you from experience, we have received numerous complaints of people purchasing things from Facebook Marketplace We got a phone call from Texas. Police officer in Texas calls us, says, hey, I reached out on Facebook Marketplace to purchase a Singer sewing machine because this officer collects Singer sewing machines from, you know, the early vintage ones. And she goes, I sent the payment and then the person stopped communicating with me and they're supposedly live in your area and, you know, can you help me out? And so I started doing research on it, and like half a dozen other Facebook Market garage sales, sales sites, the same Singer sewing machine was listed. And then to come to find out, when I did some Google searching on it, somebody had their sewing machine that they had up for sale, all the information get copied and pasted on other sites, and they were receiving messages saying, hey, how come I never received my sewing machine? So it's the same thing. They cloned her sale, her site that she had the Singer sewing machine for sale. They cloned all the pictures, all the information, except for they changed it to their email address for contact information. And so people were reaching out to them trying to purchase it, but it was all a scam. So you have to also, you try to investigate it and you try to look at their profile. But sometimes in the Facebook Marketplace has changed from when it originally started. It used to be you could click on the person and then look through their Facebook page and try to identify whether or not they're a real person. Now it only limits you to just their basic information and whatever they've ever sold or purchased on Facebook Marketplace. You know, there's times where I'm looking through it and there's a four-wheeler that's probably a $10,000 four-wheeler and they want $1,500 for it. Well, yeah, yeah, I think that's a great deal. I should reach out and purchase that, right? So things too good to be true. Other things to think about, you know, is the seller going to refuse to meet you in person? You know, that can be a difficult one too, because sometimes when you sell things on Facebook, you're doing it because you don't want to meet them. You don't want to deal with people in person. You don't want to be robbed, right? And does the seller try to not use official Facebook communication? Do they try not to use the messenger service? Do they want you to provide your phone number? Do they want you to contact them only through email? Those kinds of things. And then they don't want to use the Facebook's method of payment. So what they do is they say, hey, look, yeah, you know, there's a lot of fees associated with using Facebook's payment method. So just when it asks, just tell them we're friends and family, because if we're friends and family, then those fees aren't associated with it. And so I can sell it at a cheaper rate or cheaper price. And so we have it where people call the sheriff's office and say, hey, I tried to purchase this high ticket item on Facebook Marketplace and they wanted me to click on friends and family, and I did, and then I sent the money and I didn't. Now they're not communicating with me. I never received the product. And then when I reached out to PayPal, PayPal's like, sorry, you clicked friends or family. We're not going to do anything for you. So something to be mindful of is how are they wanting you to make that purchase? How are they wanting you to send that money? I really like this because I see it on Facebook all the time. And I imagine that people that are watching this Zoom, watching this presentation today have jumped on Facebook and answered a ton of questions about all the states they've visited, the things that there are, some of their favorite things that theirs. For an example, these are some of the questions that you might see on Facebook, and it's a friend of yours, and so you might want to answer those questions. And so tacos are the best food, prove me wrong. So nope, I like T-bone steaks. Well, if a security question is hey, what's your favorite food? What I know that you like T-bone steaks, I'm probably going to put T-bone steaks in that answer block. If I know that who remembers their first grade teacher, and that's one of the security questions, and you type in Mr. Peterson, I'm going to use Mr. Peterson on that security question thing when I'm trying to remember my lost password, right? So when you play those games and you answer those questions, be mindful that you could be possibly compromising your security features to all your accounts, right? So if I know that you're answering these questions, I go to your user profile, I pull up your user profile, I then start Googling your name. I got your name, I got your address, I got, you know, who your kids are, I got where you go to school at, where you work at. I have all that information. Now I got some more information because, you know, I published this. So every time somebody copies my link and sends out my link, I'm getting feedback from hundreds of people answering all these questions. Now, these are fun to do, okay? But if it's a personal close friend, like for me, what I have done is I have copied it. I have copied the information, and I then went through and filled it out and sent it through text message to the person directly. So that way I knew it goes right to them, and you know, it's kind of fun. But be careful when you're filling that kind of stuff out online. So I talked about Venmo, and Venmo, I'm not sure if a lot of you have heard of it or not, but it's another like PayPal application where you can transfer money online. And so these are some of the kind of scams that you'll see where people try to get you to send money on Venmo. You know, fake prizes. You receive a call saying, hey, we see there's some suspicious activity on your account. We need you to verify that this is your account. Can you please provide your account number? It's pretty simple. You receive a phone call, you think because you use Venmo that, you know, this is a legitimate call. Just tell them that you'll call them back and then actually reach out to Venmo through their website and try to verify whether or not your account was actually compromised or not. You might get a text from a friend asking you or requesting you money, but it might not actually be that person. So, because somebody created an account that use their profile picture, use their information, and now is reaching out to you to try to get you to solicit money to them. Why would a scammer want to send you money? You know, well, so I worked a case, an investigation here a couple years ago where this guy was a middleman, and he lived in Scottville, and he had received a phone call that said, hey, you have won X amount of dollars, but in order to get the money, you know, you got to pay these fees. And so what we're going to do is we want your bank account information, and we're going to wire you $1,500. And so he provides his information. He gets wired $1,500, and he then gets told, we want you to go down to the bank, and then once you get that money, you have to pay the taxes. So we want you to take that $1,500, and we want you to send it to this other location through your bank, through a wire transfer. So he goes down to his bank. He receives the $1,500 in his account. He wires the money out. And then the bank charges him a fee for the wiring of the money. And so he got the money, sent it out, and then he's out a little bit of money because of the bank fees. Then they send him another message saying, hey, you know, we got these other accounts that are coming in with these other monies, and we want you to keep $100 for yourself because of the fees, and then we want you to send this money out. But he did that so much that he lost track, and he ended up losing, because he had his own money in his account. He ended up losing $50,000 as he's frauding other people. So what the whole scam was is somebody in North Carolina was renting out their vacation house. And so what they did was they took and they copied all the information for a house for sale that was on the ocean, and they listed it on a rental site. And then on the rental site, information was all set up by email. So people would communicate with this person by email. They would email this person, say, hey, I am looking at renting that place August 1st through the 15th. Is that available? And then they would get an email back saying, yes, it's available, but I have somebody else interested in it at this time. But whoever sends me the $1,200 or $1,500 first will get locked in on the rental. Now there's another $1,500 that will be associated when you actually come and stay, that you pay at the time that you come and stay. And what was happening was, so people were doing this at the beginning of the year. 6 months later, when they drive or fly or go to that vacation rental, they get there and find out that the house had recently just been sold and that it's not an actual rental, and now they're out that money. So it's the schemes that people come up with is pretty amazing. But this guy that was living in Scottsville was the middleman for that scheme. And so he was getting all these monies wired to him because it was people thinking that they were putting a deposit down on the house for this vacation rental. And then he was forwarding it on, but they were telling him to keep money, but he got so lost in dealing with all this money that he was actually ended up starting to send out money of his own that he didn't realize that he never got certain wire transfers for, or he would get a wire transfer, but it would get recalled because the person that wire transferred the money realized that there was some kind of scam going back on, was able to get back in touch with their bank, but by the time he had already sent out his money. So MoneyGram. So, we get lots of complaints involving MoneyGram where people go and they go to a place that has MoneyGram and they send out $300, $400, $500, and then they never get their product back. They never get what they intended on purchasing. And so these are the types of scams that people will use to try to get people to use MoneyGram to send them money. As I was searching the web and looking up information, in 2021, AARP Fraud Watch Network helped callers report nearly $100 million in losses. So you can see that these scams, they're making money. And most of the time that money is unrecoverable. Gift cards. So this is huge. And when I say it's huge, it's because a lot of types of scams and things that we're seeing at the sheriff's office where people are getting taken for money, they're getting phone calls saying, hey, you need to pay on your electric bill. Your electric bill didn't get paid on time. You need to pay your water bill. You need, there's a court case against you. You need to pay the X amount of dollars, or somebody from the sheriff's office is going to come and arrest you. But what we want you to do is we want you to go down to this local store. We want you to purchase all these iTunes gift cards. And then we want you to immediately take a photograph of the iTunes gift card, text it to this number, and give us the security code and information off the back of the card. And then what happens is these people then call us after they sent out thousands of dollars, and they say, hey, I think I might be scammed. And by the time that we go to contact the card holders, because there's contact information on the cards, the money's already pulled out of the accounts and there's nothing that we can do. So anytime anybody asks you to go to the store and purchase some kind of gift card and then provide them the information, be mindful. It's 99.9% of the time going to be a scam. Local law enforcement has a warrant out for your arrest. So the other day when I was asked to put on this presentation, I started working on putting some more things to it. And our own Mason County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, there was a posting of a scam alert that's going on where somebody's calling, representing to be the sheriff, a sheriff's deputy here in Mason County. They're even providing the sheriff's deputy's personal work cell phone and saying, hey, this officer has a warrant for your arrest, but you need to purchase a gift card and then send us the information so that way we don't come out and arrest you. And that got posted on our Facebook website the other day, so you can go back and look at it and see that that's scam. So then while I was looking at it, I thought, well, I'll check the Facebook webpage, and because I know we posted this scam alert information out before. So I typed in scam, and it listed all the times the scam shows up, and I started going through it. And I think it goes back all the way to 2014, where we have been sending out about every year, we send out a notice saying, hey, people in our area are being called and being told that they're going to get arrested. Well, how does that scam last for 10 years? Because you would think that people would realize that scam is a scam, but people fall for it. 2 years ago, I got a phone call at the sheriff's office because it was my name that was used. That was Detective Kenney had an arrest warrant for you, and the person actually provided $5,000 worth of gift cards to the scammer before they decided to call and verify whether or not we had an arrest warrant for them. So as you guys sit here in class, or you guys sit here during this presentation, and you're thinking to yourselves, how does this keep happening? How do people keep falling for these things? And it's a variety of reasons. Nobody wants to get arrested. Nobody, we all think that, well, maybe something happened, or there's maybe some kind of mistake. If I just pay the money now, then I can go follow up later with it and figure out what's actually going on. So seeing as how this is a cybercrime seminar, let's talk a little bit about more cybercrime. So we talk about public wireless or Wi-Fi connections. So we go to the store, or we go to the airport, or we go to McDonald's or another restaurant. We sit down and we pull out our smartphones and we want to look up some information. So we jump on their Wi-Fi and then we start accessing things. Well, we don't know. So it was interesting. So when I went to my computer crimes training, we did a lot of testing. And so there are programs out there, and I won't share with you the name of the programs, but there are programs out there where I can jump on the network, the Wi-Fi, and I can watch the traffic. I can watch the internet traffic, and I can watch the connections and see who's jumping onto that service and see what websites they're viewing. And depending on the website itself, whether or not that the information that's being entered is encrypted or not. And so as people jump onto that website, and I'm monitoring it using specialized software that you can download from the internet for free, and you can watch that web traffic, and you can see whether or not they enter a username or password and what website it was that they entered that information to. Then I can exit back out and I can log in and use that username and password to log into that account. So you want to make sure that when you're visiting websites on public domains that are open to the public, that the websites are secure with HTTPS. Yeah. So that way, you know that it's a secured and an encrypted website. Let's see. This is probably pretty important information also. So most times when you log onto your computer, at least it popped up on mine. When I logged into a network, it asked me, hey, do I want to make this network, or do I want to make my computer discoverable by other computers on the network? Okay. Do I want to share my network communications with other computers that are on this network? And so if that pops up, make sure that that feature is turned off, because you don't want to share your computer connection with other computers that are on that same network. And then, obviously try to make sure that if you have antivirus software, that it is up to date with all the current viruses and malware that's out there. So that can, in the antivirus software, there are some sites that you can get antivirus software for free, but how good is it that's for free? I'm not really sure. It all depends on what probably trying to attack your account.
Windows 10 or Windows 11, it has Windows Defender, which has built-in antivirus, which used to be a joke, but I've done some research. It's pretty good now. If you don't have an antivirus software, external like McAfee or Norton's or anything, it's automatically invoked. So you already have an antivirus on there.
Thank you.
And then you can turn on your firewall. But without that, they did that because people would turn off their, not pay for the antivirus and say, oh, we're okay. But Apple people were also like, I have an Apple, so I don't get viruses. The first virus hit an Apple too.
Yeah.
Do
So
you have a preference?
what's that?
Is there a preference to which one you should have? I just got a new Chrome, and I was told that, you should have a special one. I don't have it set up yet.
So there's differences in computers. So like if you have a Chromebook that it typically doesn't have a very large hard drive, if anything, on it. It has more like RAM, which is just information. So it'll have a hard drive large enough to run the file and run Chrome and access the internet, and you can get all your documents, but everything's done pretty much on the cloud. And then I'm thinking that that's probably, if you have a Chromebook.
Yeah, I've got it here.
You don't have a hard drive.
Yeah.
You've got like EEPROM, when you turn it on, it accesses.
Yep. So what your Chromebook does is it'll have like 4 gigs of memory, which is basically hosts the operating system for your, so all your information when you access the internet through the Chromebook is logged within your accounts that you're accessing. Your Chromebook wouldn't necessarily have virus software built in within it. It's within the websites that you're accessing.
So this notice keeps coming up that says Guardio or something like that I should get this Guardio. And I asked my son-in-law, who has a job in computer for the government. And he said, he looked it up and he said, don't go to Guardio. It's in comparison to the others, it had a low, like a 2 something rating versus a 4.9 in one of the others or something like that. So he suggested not to do the Guardio. So, but I haven't done anything because I'm paralyzed. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, so for like a Chromebook, most of the time people that have Chromebooks will have like a Gmail account, a Google account where you log into your Gmail, and then all the files are all saved within Google Drive. Your photos are all saved on Google Photos, and which is Google itself has all of its own antivirus software and protection within its applications. So you're pretty protected. And when I say pretty protected, when people that have Chromebooks, most of the time will go to websites that they know of and that they trust, because the information that they're accessing using their Google Chrome doesn't get stored on their tablet or their notebook itself.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
All this time.
So just the biggest thing with accessing Wi-Fi and public wireless connections, and most of the time, I would say in our area, there's probably not people sitting there monitoring the internet traffic and waiting for, because a lot of information now, in a lot of sites that we go to, as long as it's HTTPS, it's encrypted. So as you're entering the information, it's getting encrypted. And so there's really not a lot of risk of being compromised, but I'm just throwing it out there that if you're going to do a lot of banking and you're going to do a lot of stuff like that, it probably wouldn't be, I probably wouldn't do it on a open internet source. I would try to do it on a home internet source, something that's more secure. Then we talked about passwords again and how important passwords are. And then talked about scams. The chief of police mentioned the grandparent scam. And that's where your grandchild calls you and says, hey, I'm in jail. I need $10,000. I need 10% of $10,000 to be able to get out. Can you run down and get some Apple gift cards? And the thing about it is we hear a lot about it at the sheriff's office. And I'm going to share this with you because I believe this to be very important. Is people contact us and they say, hey, we're really not supposed to say, but this person keeps coming in to our store and purchasing all these MoneyGrams, or they're purchasing all these Apple gift cards. And this is the person's information. Can you contact them and make sure that they're legitimately supposed to be because part of these businesses is, they're not supposed to give out personal information, right? So, but they recognize that this person's probably being scammed. And so we go and we look into those. And then we'll go contact the person, and the person will be like, I know who it is I'm sending the money to. I'm okay with sending the money. I got money to, I'm doing okay financially. And I really truly believe that this person's in love with me, or this person's, is going to come and give me this amount of money. And we try to convince people not to participate in those scams, and they still do it. But there's all these. I got called. I'll give you another example. I got called by a person that works in a local business here, and they're like, "Hey, my friend has been getting on this online dating site, and this person lives in another country, but wants to come to the U.S., wants to visit, but they got to get these documents, they got to get this money, and she keeps sending him money. Can you go talk to her for me?" Yeah, I'll go talk to her, and I explain it to her, and then she sits there and she realizes, yeah, he's probably not coming, and I've been had for about $5,000-6,000. So the scams work because people give the money. So there was these other types of scams that are targeting, usually older people because, the fake software, tech support, right? Tech support calls you and says, hey, I noticed that, you're having some issues with your laptop, and you're starting to think, yeah, my laptop is slowing down. It's not working as fast as it used to. Well, if you let me remote in, I can, take care of that for you. And then so you're like, okay, well, what do I got to do? Well, just go here, click on this. When this number comes up on your screen, just read it back to me, and it'll let me remote in, and then I can navigate on your computer, and I can go in and I can fix all those problems. And so you do that, and then they go in there and they dump all the information that they need to dump off your laptop, or they install some keylogger software, or they install some malware software that then in turn feeds them information to be able to access your accounts and your information. So it's very easy to get a phone call and say, hey, I noticed that you're having some problems with your computer. Hey, I noticed you're having some problems with your cell phone. I'm going to send you this text message that'll give me access to be able to try to fix those problems within your phone. I have a family member that is always asking me questions about emails and text messages. And I'm like, just ignore them, delete them, don't respond. But, it's one of those deals where we're not sure. We look at it and it looks legitimate. It's talking about our bank account information. How does it know all this information? How does it know that I'm banking at this location? And so you want to respond back to it. You want to, resolve it. And so you communicate with the person, and that's what starts that trickle down theory. Are you a victim of fraud? Fraud is an emotional crime, and as much as a financial one. It can be embarrassing to admit that you were tricked or scammed. It's very difficult for people to come forward and say, hey, you know, I mean, we have had people come into the sheriff's office that have remortgaged their paid off house because they have given so much money in hopes of receiving this inheritance or in hopes of receiving this bundle of money that they keep getting told about. So obviously follow these steps, contact your bank or credit card company immediately, place a fraud alert with the credit bureau, freeze your credit bureau. If your identity has been stolen, report it with the FTC through identitytheft.gov, contact your local law enforcement, maybe sign up for credit monitoring. And here's some more information on the Federal Trade Commission, the ID theft hotline, Equifax, Expedient, TransUnion, you know, the credit bureaus. You can reach out to them. You can get online and fill out information and be able to access your credit scores, see all your credit accounts, and verify all the open accounts and see actually what you owe in all your credit cards and mortgage, vehicle loans, and all that's available on your credit report. So IC3.gov is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. So my experience with that is you can log into that website, you can report, you can provide the information, answer the questions. And what they do is they basically build a history of all the reports that are coming in. And then if there's something that they can do, they will investigate it. But if you're out less than $50,000, they're not even going to look at it unless it's tied into a bigger conspiracy that they're already working in. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I had somebody that's around $45,000. I call the feds, call them, they come down, they meet with the person, and they're like, yeah, our threshold's $50,000. So you got to be out $50,000 before we can do anything. And it was all happening overseas. So there's nothing that the sheriff's office can do for the person. We talked about this earlier, you know, a trusted family member, a friend, you need to call them, talk with them, discuss it with them. If somebody's asking you for personal information and you're suspicious, call and talk to somebody else. Reach out to somebody else, ask them what they think. And then are they asking you to hurry up and pay them? Are they asking you to send money or gift cards? And you can also reach out to law enforcement and ask us. You know, we'll you know, try to give you the best advice that we can give you, but it's up to you to make that decision. That's all I have for you today. I do have some time if you have any questions or anything like that that I can help you with. But the big thing is when you receive text messages, you receive emails, look at them. If they don't look like there's something that you went out and specifically asked for them to send to you, they're probably some type of fraud or some type of scam. Back with social media applications, if you're getting friend requests or you're getting contacted by somebody that you haven't talked to in 20 years, it's probably a really good idea to believe that the person's reaching out to you to try to scam you. I have a couple questions.
I was going to ask if your presentation here is going to be available afterwards. Some way, because I know you have some addresses on there and some contact information.
Sure, I can go back to it, and then what I would do, is you can take your cell phone and just snap a picture of it. And then, so like I had told you earlier about, when I was down in Florida, I got the AT&T bill, right? And, so I logged into, TransUnion, and, I did a credit report, and that was the only transaction on our credit report that was suspicious in nature, was the one from AT&T, and it was in Houston. It gave the address and it gave the name of the person, but when I did some research on that, it was a fictitious name and a fictitious address. I happen to have certain tools that help me look up information. And I was able to determine that that information that they had provided AT&T was all fictitious information.
When I was running computer lab in Fairbanks, Alaska, we got a phone order for somebody to send a Sony camera, which we sold those to a location in Boston. And I'm sitting to the person who, I see this package go out, and I'm going, wait a minute. And so I called the salesperson aside. I goes, doesn't this sound suspicious that somebody from North Carolina calls here with a credit card to have them send a camera to Boston? Can't they buy the camera in Boston? And so, I mean, you have, that was going on 20 years ago. And the second thing I want to say is, every morning, and this is thanks to my former wife who ran credit unions, every morning I go in and I check my bank account, see what's been charged, and to check to make sure everything is reconciled. So I know right off the bat that something's happening. And that's a good habit I think everybody should get into. Especially if they buy from Amazon, or you don't have any anything that's automatically taken out of your account, like CUNA Mutual. I have a insurance policy taken out, and so I know where that stuff, when it hits, I know when it's going to hit. So just keep track of your account, and that'll save you a lot of hassle.
Well, at the beginning of the presentation, I kind of started out with right after I got out of high school, and what kind of technology was available when I got out of high school. And over the last, 30 years, technology has grown by leaps and bounds, and it's amazing what we have in the palm of our hands now. And these kids that are growing up now that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and even my children, they have so much more knowledge about what a cell phone can do, what social media apps can do. And just for myself, my daughter and I, she was talking about Snapchat, and I'm like, you know what? I work around the sheriff's office a lot. I need to be more familiar with what Snapchat is, and and the kind of things that you can do on Snapchat. And so we started doing snapping each other, sending a picture every day. So for an example, while during the presentation, my daughter texted me 25 minutes ago a Snapchatted picture, and so I'll look at it, and so I click on it. Yeah, and it's just a picture of her real quick, and then so I'll reply back with a picture, and then so we have been sending a picture every day now for 496 days. And but if you talk to my daughter, she has a couple of her friends that she has over 1,000 days of every day. She sent them a picture and they've replied back with a picture. And so but what's interesting, and I'll bring this up because so as I talk about this, as I give this presentation, there's all kinds of things that keep hitting me and that I could talk about. And we're almost 2 hours into it, but it's amazing. So Snapchat, with these streaks, kids are so emotionally attached to their phones because they have these streaks that are going with their friends, And if their phone gets lost or they can't snap this picture, they're going to lose that 1,000-day streak, right? So what they're doing is they're giving their password to another friend and saying, hey, here's my login information. Can you make sure you complete my streaks for me because I'm grounded from my phone. I lost my phone. I broke my phone. And then what happens is their friends, and we are working a case right now where the young individual took some inappropriate photos, had them on in their Snapchat account, and then provided another friend their login information to their Snapchat account, and then that friend said, sent those pictures out to other people. So, there are so many different ways that your account can get compromised. The easiest way for your account to get compromised, right, is providing information to other people to log in. Now, there are a lot of people in jail, and there are a lot of people that have all kinds of accounts and while they're in jail. And then they provide their username and password to other individuals who then have access to their accounts. So we go back to the Facebook Marketplace scam, and we talk about, well, I did some research on the person. They've been on Facebook since 2000. It looks like they got a real good social media profile on Facebook. They look like a legitimate person. Well, some of our investigations have ran is that people that are in jail, because I've had to pull them out and talk to them about it because it was their accounts that got used. And they're like, yeah, I have 2 or 3 accounts that I use quite often, but I wasn't using that one account very much lately because I got these other 2 accounts. And so I traded a little bit of drugs, or I traded a little bit of money for my username and password to that account. And so then that person that took over that individual's account created all kinds of fraud on Facebook Marketplace and had all this money. And so now I'm looking at charging this person but I can articulate that they were in jail at the time that the crime happened. So I know, so now I got to investigate the person that they gave the account information to. Well, then I go and I track that person down. Well, he gave it to somebody else. So, it can be very difficult.
And now we have AI.
We do.
And so
It's
it's
Well-
and you were talking about in the beginning, when I started out, brown picture tools in technology up to now. And it's just amazing the explosion in the last, say, 10 years. But now that we're going into this artificial intelligence, when you do answer the phone, it could sound like your wife talking.
Yeah, there's so many things. There's so many things that I could talk about. So I can send everybody in this room a text message as long as I know what your mother's phone number is, and it will show up on your phone as your mom sending you a text message or your mom calling you, because I can spoof that cell phone number to a company in Canada who won't honor my search warrant because they're out of our country, and they will spoof for 10 cents that number, and it'll show up on your phone. And because the caller ID recognizes that phone number as being your mom's phone number, it will show up with your mom's picture saying, hey, mom's calling or mom's texting. Same thing with email addresses. Nowadays we can spoof all kinds of information. And it makes it difficult for law enforcement to try to track down that information. Because when I serve that search warrant to the company in Canada, and I ask them, hey, I want this information, and they don't even reply back. They don't have to.
Do you guys know what spoof means? Some people don't know what spoof means.
Yeah. That's where you just you use your phone number, and it sends it to this company. They convert it from your phone number to your mom's phone number, and then they send you a message or a call that makes it show up on your phone as being from your mom.
This is really all worth it. People don't talk to each other anymore. Like you said, your children, they're on this all the time. They don't really know how to interact with people. And I don't see the benefit anymore.
Yeah.
I did initially when it came out. But now it's more work than it's worth,
My
really.
daughter does Zoom meetings, but she has friends in Japan. She can speak fluent Japanese. And she talks Japanese to her friends in Japan, and they come back with English. And the reason they do that is it forces them to translate as they're going back.
The computer translates.
And I'm sitting there going, are those really your friends? And she, well, she knows them real well. And she has them go, in the beginning, they went around her house and that, and I guess, and of course, was raised with me, so she knows, technology and that. But somebody else, if she didn't, and she personally knows those people, if she didn't personally know those people and just found somebody on the internet, well, we talk back and forth. Now they make that connection.
It's
And if they're
difficult.
unscrupulous at that end, or this end, they make that connection, they're friends now they can start getting the money back.
But it's difficult to trust people anymore, trust things, I should say.
It's super. So we get referrals. People can call into DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and they can make reports of vulnerable adults, and they can make reports of children being being abused and such. And then so DHHS will then take and look at it and see if it meets their criteria for investigation. And if it doesn't, it can get sent to the sheriff's office. So I just got a referral the other day. The referral basically indicates that this individual is being contacted and being victimized and sending out money, and the person wants to believe that the other person that he's sending money to, he's in a relationship with them. And I called the victim and I spoke with him, but how does he know that I'm really the police when I call and talk to him? You know?
That is true.
So I'm like, well, I'll just give you a heads up. I'll have a patrol car come out to your house and make contact with you, so you really know that I am the police. So it's difficult because you get a phone call and somebody says, hey, this is the sheriff's office. How do you actually know that it's the sheriff's office? Because the caller ID could be spoofed, right? So it's difficult.
I get calls all the time now, scam calls, that use one person's name comes up on my screen on the telephone. It's a regular, it's not a mobile phone. So then I'll pick it up. Sometimes I pick it up. I could tell it's somebody coming in, but it's always the same. They're trying to sell funeral insurance or something. Anyway, but they use different names pop up all the time.
So I will tell you guys that almost everybody that I communicate with on somewhat of a regular basis, or cases that I'm working at, I put their name in my phone. And I put their name in my phone, so that way if they call me, it shows up on my caller ID. If you try to call me and it doesn't show up on my caller ID and it just shows up as a number, I'm probably not going to answer it, because I have, I kid you not, almost 2,000 contacts in my phone. And so if you don't show up on my caller ID, there's probably a real good chance I'm not going to answer it. You can leave a message, and if it's important, I'll call you back right away. Another thing that what I notice is that, with technology, we have Alexa and all these, Google and all these Siri and all that stuff. And there's times where I've talked in my phone, all of a sudden I see the Siri thing starting to spin and it's trying to listen to what I'm saying. But the other day, I'll give you another good example, is when we log into social media sites, when we visit sites and it asks about cookies and it asks, you're agreeing to user profiles and user information and such. All those companies are tracking your information, and they can do things on your phone that you wouldn't think would be possible. So my wife was talking with me about a website that she heard that was similar to Amazon. And she named the website, and it's a Chinese-based company. And I'm like, I've never heard of them. And she goes, well, they sell things like Amazon, but like really cheap. And I'm like, I've never heard of them. My son comes upstairs and he, yep. And so my son comes upstairs and he's like, what are you guys talking about? So she starts telling him. And then like 2 hours later, I'm on my phone and I open up Facebook, and the very first advertisement that shows up for Facebook is that website that I've never talked about, never seen, or never had show up on my phone before. And it shows up 2 hours after my wife talks about it, when I'm within, a couple feet of her. So, oh yeah. So it's all about what permissions do you give your phone. So, Google and all that stuff, if I drive down US 10 and I drive by the movie theater, first thing that pops up on my phone is a notice of what movies are playing at the local movie theater.
I'm sure glad you told about that, because I've been thinking I've been a little nuts there. I'll look at.
I mean, there's so much we could talk about. And
at an ad on Facebook, and then the next time, I don't use the email on my phone that much. I use on my laptop. And the next time I check my email on my laptop, there'll be an email from that company on my laptop.
yeah, so like with our cell phones and with our computers and stuff like that, when we go onto search engines and we type in things on search engines and websites that we want to visit, and then it's got all these little pop-ups, and if you ever click on those pop-ups, those are all somehow linked back to Facebook and other social media profiles, Instagram and all that stuff, because then when those advertisements pop up, the thing you were looking up on Google or on Amazon Prime now is showing up on your Facebook page, so it's no coincidence. It's all about trying to sell you a product. It's all about trying to get you to act and do certain things.
Now, when I go to order something, I'll go incognito. My brother-in-law told me that, and so that, limits the information out there.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Up in the upper right-hand corner, it says go incognito, and it looks like
This is on
Sherlock
Facebook?
Holmes or something on there.
So it depends on, it probably depends on what, if you're opening it up in Google or if you're opening it up in Safari. It all depends on what browser you're using and the settings within that browser. But yeah, there's so many things that we could sit and talk about for hours that is going on and taking place, and it's just so hard to navigate. It's just so hard for one person to even be skilled in all those areas, I think. So
On my phone here, right now I have, it says your shipment could not be delivered due to an unpaid duty.
Click on it for sure.
well, should we do an experiment and see what happens?
Well, as long as it doesn't list
Yeah, well, I thank you guys for coming today and hearing my presentation. Hopefully my presentation, helps you guys out. Hopefully it will get you thinking to talk about to your family members, share information with them. Something to think about your cell phones too. Like my wife has my cell phone, password, I have her cell phone password. So if and my kids have it, so that way if something happens to us, they can get access to my cell phone and have, contact information, be able to get the pictures off from it, have access to my emails, have access to my banking stuff and that if something was to happen to me. So if you have something that happens to you and nobody knows your password, there's a good chance that they'll never be able to access any of that information. So, but then again, too, we're talking about cybersecurity and sharing your information. You might not want to do that, right? So,
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of Facebook, my husband signed up for Facebook, but he passed